A major earthquake hits our house tomorrow.
Michigan voters choose Jackson.
Next on News Center 9. And now, from the great El Paso Southwest, your complete news and information source. News Center 9. Frank Chiappone, sports. Jon Galfano with weather. And at the news desk, Tom Thorpe and Jackie Steele.
Good evening. Tom Thorpe is on assignment. Jesse Jackson continues to shock political experts in his race for the White House.
It was a close fight for most of the day, but in the end, Jackson blew past Michael Dukakis to capture the Michigan caucuses. With more than 70% of the vote in, Jackson has 42% to 35% for Dukakis. Jackson's strongest area is in Detroit, and those results are only beginning to come in. Richard Gephardt was hoping for a Michigan miracle, but he finished a distant third. Gephardt's expected to meet with his family and political advisors tomorrow to decide the fate of his campaign. Senators Paul Simon and Albert Gore aren't a factor in Michigan. Over on the Republican side, Vice President George Bush is gaining even more momentum in his lopsided bid for the GOP nomination. Bob Dole supporters in California are throwing their support behind Bush. The converts say they want to unify the Republican Party.
Panama's hungry will continue to go without. Today, government riot police took over 2 flour mills and confiscated the goods that were intended for the nation's poor people. As police evicted workers and carted off the flour, Panamanians continue to protest. Opposition leaders say the latest takeover is the first step by Noriega's strongmen to seize control of the vital parts of the economy. Noriega refuses to step down. And in Honduras, there won't be any gold bricking by 3,200 American soldiers. An Army spokesman says they'll be conducting military exercises up until they start heading home on Monday. President Reagan ordered the troops to Honduras last week after what the administration called a Nicaraguan invasion. That's when neighboring Nicaragua troops reportedly entered Honduras in pursuit of Contra rebels.
Secretary of State George Shultz will be going to the Middle East during the Easter holiday. He will again visit Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Saudi Arabia on this latest round of shuttle diplomacy. Word of his peace mission comes on the day when Shultz met with 2 Palestinians over the objections of Israel. We have more in this NBC report.
The State Department tried to sound optimistic today over the U.S. peace plan for the Middle East that so far appears to have gone nowhere.
No one has said no. Our proposal is still on the table.
But no one has said yes either. Shultz unveiled the peace proposal during a trip to the region a month ago. It's aimed at ending the current violence and establishing self-rule for Palestinians in the Israeli-occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip. So far, neither Israel nor any Arab nation have signed on to the proposal. In a controversial move today, Shultz met with 2 Palestinian Americans who are tied to the Palestine Liberation Organization. The meeting was held despite a congressional ban on any U.S. dealings with the PLO. The 2 men, Edward Said and Ibrahim Abu Lagoud, are members of the Palestine National Council, the political arm of the PLO, and attended their meeting in Algiers last year. They're considered to have close ties with PLO leader Yasser Arafat. The 2 men and the State Department tried to sidestep the issue by claiming today's talks were not negotiations. Israel formally protested today's meeting, while some in Congress say Shultz is sending the wrong signal to rioting Palestinians in the occupied territories.
Well, I'm afraid it says to the Palestinians, keep rioting, keep throwing rocks, because you'll begin to get what you want.
Despite his best efforts, Secretary of State Shultz's previous trips to the Middle East have failed to produce any acceptable peace plan. And Reagan administration officials caution not to expect any breakthroughs on this next trip either. Jim Miklashevsky, NBC News, the White House.
And there's more trouble tonight in the occupied territories of the Gaza Strip. Israeli troops killed 2 more Palestinians in a West Bank battle today. A 3rd died of wounds suffered earlier. The troops are also beating on children, and police have closed predominantly Arab East Jerusalem to vehicles from the occupied territories.
A rare demonstration for religious freedom in western Czechoslovakia has resulted in hundreds of Roman Catholics being arrested and beaten by riot police. About 2,000 people gathered in the Slovak capital for a candlelight rally in front of the National Theater. Such rallies are banned by communist authorities who tightly control religious activities. Witnesses say the demonstration was broken up as police pushed protesters into side streets. Water cannons were also used to disperse the crowd. The protesters continued to sing Slovak and Czech national anthems, pray, and hold candles. And in Belfast, 2 men charged with the murder of 2 British soldiers who had been attacked by an angry mob at an Irish Republican Army funeral last week face formal charges today. The accused were brought in under heavy guard. Police and British troops surrounded the Belfast court, itself the target of a recent bomb attack. The pair said nothing as the police officer cited evidence against them that included the discovery of fibers from one of the dead soldiers' sweater on their clothing.
The defendant in the so-called Preppy murder is behind bars tonight. Robert Chambers surrendered to police this morning in court and was sent to the Rikers Island jail. Chambers will be sentenced on April 15th. He faces 5 to 15 years for the death of 18-year-old Jennifer Levin. Yesterday, the 21-year-old pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Chambers admits he intended to hurt Levin the night he killed her in New York Central Park. El Paso police are still looking for 4 Hispanic men suspected of raping and kidnapping 2 women early this morning. Investigators say a woman flagged down a police car on West Overland. She was taken to a hospital where she was treated and released. But the suspects took the other woman with them and later dumped her in Juarez.
We don't know the extent of her involvement in the case at this time. It's possible that she was sexually assaulted also.
2 of the suspects are in their 40s and heavy set. They made off in a black and white sedan. Police consider these men dangerous.
Coming up next, Westway residents are looking for answers.
And some record temperatures all over the western U.S. I'll show you where.
And Frank Chiappone will be along in just a few minutes with sports, and in Healthline, Dying with Family by your side. There's fear among many Westway residents that they'll have to spend another scorching summer without safe drinking water. For more than a year, the small Upper Valley community has been locked in a struggle with its water board and the El Paso community officials. But as News Center 9's John Flack reports tonight, they're uniting to seek answers to their problems.
It seems as if they're back where they started. The weather warms up and residents on Zinn Street in Westway suffer an unquenching thirst. The families here still don't have an adequate supply of this precious resource. The main obstacle is money.
We'd like to make water available to all these people. At this time, Mr. Ortiz as well as myself know that the funds are not available, and there's very little that we can do without the funds.
The people of Westway say part of their complaint is one of taxation without representation. Some have received a water tax bill from the city of El Paso, but they received no service in return.
Some claim they've received bills for $100 or more for water that's never made it into their homes. Once again, the situation leads to feelings of frustration. But tonight there's hope that things will change. Organizers met with residents who have the most critical need, those with children.
I think it takes working together. I think it's the board being responsive. I think it's us taking their problems to them, and I think it's the people airing their problems. And once we have all our cards on the table, I don't think it'll require a miracle. I think it's very possible.
Community leaders say this time they're hoping to formulate an effective plan of action that will keep the residents from facing another dry summer. John Flack, News Center 9.
3 of the water board members are up for re-election next month. Voting is scheduled for May 7th. Turning to medical news, when there's no cure, some patients choose to live their last days at home. It's a choice that may provide more comfort and peace than a hospital or nursing home. As Peter Scardino reports tonight, help from a hospice allows those patients to die with dignity, surrounded by the love of their family.
Here to see Joyce today. I hope she's doing all right.
Making house calls is just part of the job for Dr. Porter Story and registered nurse Mary Trumbull. The most important part is to help terminally ill patients die with dignity during what is usually a very undignified time.
How are you? Dr.
They came to check on Joyce Taylor, a cancer patient with no hope of recovery. Joyce says she's thankful the hospice exists. Her disease wiped out family savings, and she can't bear the thought of leaving her home.
If I didn't have hospice, I would have to be in a state facility, the likes of which I can only imagine as being a nightmare.
The visiting doctor and nurse give Joyce all the care she needs at a much lower cost than inpatient care.
Well, let me just listen to your chest a minute. I hate
Hospice care focuses on comfort, not curing. Most clients are accepted if they have fewer than 6 months to live. And living at home is much less disruptive and frightening than living in an institution.
We can offer a lot of comfort, even if it's only knowing that you can get help in the middle of the night on Saturday.
Help Joyce has been thankful for many times.
I'm sure with other illnesses you get frightened and concerned, but I promise you with cancer, each new thing is overwhelming. I mean, I'm so terrified when something new happens.
Being in familiar surroundings helps. The hospice keeps her pain-free, monitors her medical condition, and allows Joyce to live her last days with her best friends, an unlikely situation at a hospital.
Give me a kiss. Yes, I'd hate to have to leave Bliss.
From Baylor College of Medicine, I'm Dr. Peter Scardino.
If you have any questions about this approach, please call 713-HOSPICE.
When you turn your dial to Channel 9, you're turning to a winner. Today we walked off with 4 first-place awards and several honorable mentions. Best Newscast, Best Documentary, Best News Writing from our own Tom Thorpe, Best Sports from Frank Chiappone, and an honorable mention goes to Jon Galfano for weather. The awards were handed out today in Albuquerque. The votes came from our peers at the New Mexico Associated Press Broadcasters Association. Well, congratulations, John.
Well, thank you very much, Jackie. Let's not forget one of our great producers, Sir Tracy Pancoast, walked off with 2 awards.
Doing
so we
good.
got a lot of hot stuff going on around here. And speaking of hot stuff, take a look at some video from Los Angeles, if we could roll that up there. Look at that. The sun is shining in L.A. today, folks. They were reaching temperatures over 100 degrees for the last numerous amount of days. The Santa Ana winds are blowing into L.A., and boy, is it hot over there, and some relief is on the way, thankfully, for those L.A. folks. But that beach looks mighty inviting. It absolutely does. An inviting temperature here at 10 p.m. in El Paso. Right now we're at 62 degrees. Las Cruces at 60. Relative humidity 24%. We've got moisture in the atmosphere. The dew point temperature up to 25 degrees. Hey, I'm happy. The barometer steady 30.12 inches of mercury, and the winds right now out of the northeast at 7 miles per hour. Our high today in El Paso, a very comfortable 81 degrees after a nice low last night of 39. No rain today, just over an inch so far for the year. A slight chance of showers in the forecast. I'll tell you about it when we come back. All right, a pretty nice day around here. A little on the breezy side, but not too bad all in all. At 10 p.m., here's what's happening. Mild around here tonight. We've got some cloud cover in the area. Promises to keep our temperatures up. We should drop off to around the 50-degree mark tonight as opposed to the 39-degree mark last night. Storm system moving into the Pacific Northwest promises some changes here later in the week as that moves in our general direction. We'll tell you more about that in a second. Here's the big weather maker tonight, though. This storm system all the way down along the eastern seaboard of our country down into the Gulf of Mexico. 1 tornado in North Carolina reported today. No deaths or severe injuries, though, just some farm utensils thrown around and that kind of thing in there. A lot of heavy rains all the way up toward Buffalo. But I'm keeping an eye on not this L here. This is a heat low because of the hot temperatures over in Arizona, over in Southern California. But this low right here, this is a weather disturbance, and what it's doing is it's trying to bring some activity in our area here. It's bringing some cloudiness up here. There's a few showers embedded in that cloudiness, and this may figure in our forecast for tomorrow. Earlier today, there was a 20% chance of showers in the National Weather Service forecast. They've taken it out, but I'm going to leave it in there because factors look like it could really happen. So here's what I see for tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies around El Paso. A slight chance of a shower breaking out as the dew point temperature gets up there a little bit. Windy in the Central Plains area. That storm system continues pushing on in. And on the East Coast, rains all the way up from Maine all the way down into the Carolinas as that storm system pushes right on out into the Atlantic Ocean. Here's the satellite shots not around the country. Cloudiness up in the Midwest except to the northeast and right down through Florida. And cloudiness in the Pacific Northwest, of course. And here's all that cloudiness I just spoke about, brought up by that disturbance. It's situated right about here. We take a closer look at our region, and here's that cloudiness. There's quite a bit of it down here, and there is some rain falling from some of it. Of course, we don't have Mexico's radar, old Mexico's radar, but we do have the National Service radar here in this country. And here's the rain showers I spoke of along the Appalachian chain on the east coast of our United States. Some very heavy storms all the way down into Florida as well. Rains up in Idaho, Oregon, up into Washington. And right about here, there are some showers over toward Del Rio. Let me get on this side, and we'll show you where those are at. Yeah, there's some good-sized rains falling right over in this area, just east of the Big Bend, east of Sanderson, right around Del Rio and there. So there's some moisture in the area, and we'll have to see if anything knocks on our door tomorrow. Regional temperatures tonight, Lubbock, 54 degrees, 62 Midland, Odessa, 67 in San Angelo, 59 in Alamogordo, 60 Las Cruces and Deming, 62 right now here in El Paso. The high temperatures for tomorrow, well, the 90s reside around southern Arizona for tomorrow. California should be cooling down just a bit. And then we have the 80s. We're going to approach that 80-degree mark, maybe a degree or two over that, depending on the cloud cover we may get. And then comes the 70s and then the 60s. Gee, it's going to get chilly as we move north. And it's going to be chilly right around those beautiful Great Lakes up in the upper Midwest, only in the 30s for tomorrow. And tomorrow is Sunday, March the 27th, sunrise 6:01, sunset 6:22. I don't anticipate any records tonight or tomorrow, so tonight 49 degrees, high clouds, not so breezy now after midnight. Tomorrow we expect the temperature right around 80 degrees. Chance of showers, I'm going to count on it. And windy conditions, southwest winds 10 to 25 miles an hour. Monday, partly cloudy, continued windy, sports fans. And moving on to Tuesday, we're hanging right in the 80s, right through there. So let's wait and see if we get any moisture out of the air tomorrow. I'm excited. It just might happen. Let's take a look at the weather quiz for our Saturday evening. Here's the question this evening. I think we have time for it. Yeah. The average number of thunderstorms, oh, you can tell where my mind's at, in the United States in 1 year. 10,000, 50,000, or 100,000. Bob, Jack, what do you think?
I'm going to say B.
50,000?
I was going to go for B, but I'll take C to be different.
Well, Jackie is the winner, ladies and gentlemen. There are 100,000 thunderstorms annually in the United States. And, gee, I'm telling the truth here, I would really like to have one show up on our doorstep here soon.
That's a lot of thunderstorms. We may be getting one of them.
Yeah. Get our piece of the pie.
Great. Thanks a lot, John. College students are flocking to Palm Springs, California for the fun in the sun. It's spring break. The city is bracing itself for 30,000 co-eds this year. Some of them began pouring in last night, and police were out in force trying to prevent a repeat of the student violence that happened there 2 years ago. They made about 60 arrests, most for public drunkenness, but many of the students were glad to see a strong police presence to control the crowds.
Of course, spring break means Final Four basketball, as usual, and two of them have been decided today. Two who will go, and it's going to be not Villanova and Temple, that's for sure.
Well, it should be a good Final Four, though, regardless.
Yeah, regardless, it's going to be a great one, and we'll get to all the basketball action right away. There are only 2 tickets left for the Final Four, as 2 were snatched up today. We'll tell you all about that. If you wanted to watch the Tournament Players Championship today, sorry, Mother Nature got hold of it. 64 teams started the trek toward the Final Four, but only 4 get to go. That's why they call it the Final Four. Funny how that works, isn't it? Well, anyway, going into today's games, only 8 teams were left fighting for those 4 precious spots. Now there's only 2. First, let's take care of the Southeast Regional. The great thing about Villanova coach Raleigh Massimino is that no matter how big the game, he's always so calm. But today, they were up against the always calm and always running Oklahoma Sooners. Mookie Blaylock with the old run, spin, off the glass, bounce on the rim a couple times, and down it goes play. Easy, wasn't it? Oklahoma led it, but Nova slowed it down, and Kenny Wilson gets it into Gary Massey, who does a little slamming. And then Massimino and Villanova were talking a 30-28 lead. Then Villanova headed west to Doug West. He sinks the jumper, and that gave the Cats their biggest lead, 48-40. But then West and the Cats headed south, and the Sooners headed to Kansas City. Ricky Gray slices through the defense, and the Nova lead was sliced to shreds. Then Ricky pops another from Graceland. The Okies began to run away, and then they just kept on running. Stacy King with a crowning touch. Oklahoma outscored Villanova 34-17 in the second half. And they are going to Kansas City, as they say, for the Final Four. Oklahoma won it 78-59, and they will play the winner of the Arizona-North Carolina game. That one will be played tomorrow. In the East Regional, Temple was trying to make it 19 in a row and 1 in a row to the Final Four. They couldn't do it. Freshman Mark Macon was making nothing today, but Tim Perry covered for him. Temple was up 9-4. The Owls led by as much as 10 points. But then Duke's Kevin Strickland was strictly business on the drive, going coast to coast. And Denny Ferry shipped one in on the turnaround, as Duke did a turnaround, and they were down only 2. Macon was 6 for 29 from the field today, but he did get this nice drive as the Owls led 28-25 at the break. The Owls started the second half by missing 11 of their first 12 shots, while the Blue Devils were possessed on offense. Perry again on the turnaround, then Quinn Snyder from the parking lot, and Duke cruised into the lead. A bit later, Ali Abdul-Nabi gets the Alibaba Slammer, and the Owls were falling from flight. Strickland kept pouring it on. First the trifecta from Never Never Land, and then after getting tired of the Long Rangers, he capped off the day with one a little bit closer. As Duke, a big surprise, the #1 team in the country, falls. The #1 seed in the East falls. And yes, Temple goes home now, Jack. That's the way that works. And Duke goes on to the Final Four, 63-53. In off-the-court news, Gary Colson may be leaving the University of New Mexico. The Dallas Times-Herald reported today that the UNM coach is on the list of possible coaches for the University of Texas job. That position opened up last week when the Longhorns fired Coach Weltick last week. Colson, who's been the Lobo coach for 8 years, is being considered along with Michigan basketball coach Bill Frieder, Loyola Marymount coach Paul Westhead, and Bruce Stewart, the coach of Middle Tennessee State. Colson is 146 to 145 in his 8 years at the school and has taken them to the NIT the last 5 years. Now, while Texas looks for a new coach, the PGA was looking for a dry place to stand as heavy rains and falling hail postponed the third round of the Tournament Players Championship. This is what it looked like at Ponte Vedra Beach today in Florida as the skies done opened up and the golf course done closed down. So Mother Nature was the big winner today. 42 golfers and this young lady were caught in a storm. All the golfers ran for cover, while the girl just kind of sat there because she didn't want to give up her good seat. Congratulations go out to the UTEP Miners who have taken first place at the Fresno State Pepsi Classic today. They beat some quality teams in #3 Arizona State and #2 Arizona. Those were ranked in the country. It was just a little over a week till the start of baseball season. California Angels manager Gene Mauch has decided he's seen enough baseball for one lifetime. Mauch ended 2 weeks of speculation today by announcing he's stepping down as manager of the Angels, something he had been doing for the last 4 years in California and the last 26 in Major League Baseball. You may recall Mauch had left the team 2 weeks ago because of health problems. A checkup showed that the 62-year-old was suffering from bronchitis, but otherwise he was okay. Mauch said another reason he was leaving was because he never learned how to accept losing. Under Mauch, the Angels claimed division titles in '82 and in '86. Gene Mauch may have closed up the book on his career today, but Steffi Graf is still working on hers. Today, the 18-year-old West German wrote a chapter on how to completely dominate the greats of the game. Graf went head-to-head with Chris Everett Lloyd in the finals of the Lipton International today, and right away sent a message to Lloyd that if she wished to return some of her serves, she was going to have to back up a little bit. She won the first set 6-4, and then she took the second set by the same score in beating Everett for the 6th straight time and collect $112,000 for the effort. Not a bad day's work for Miss Graf.
Not a bad day at all. Thanks a lot, Frank.
Not a bad day. Hey, okay, thank you. When we come back, John says some clouds will enter the morning picture.
And a look at a special academy only for the canine.
Well, Sunday looks like it's going to be a good day for you. Tomorrow morning, right after coffee, on your way to church or whatever, here's what you may expect. Partly cloudy conditions in the morning, temperature right around 50, 55 degrees with light winds in the morning hours, though getting breeze in the afternoon. And, as I said earlier, just a slight chance of a thunder shower moving through town. Have a great day tomorrow, and back to Bob.
Thanks a lot, John. Now for a quick look at tonight's headlines. Jesse Jackson continues to stun the political world. He beat out Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis in the Michigan caucuses today. U.S. troops in Honduras keep working even though they're going home on Monday. And 2 men are charged in Belfast for the murders of a couple of British soldiers attacked during an IRA funeral. Finally, tonight, there are many kinds of academies in our countries, like the military and police academies.
But as we see in this NBC report, there's one that's strictly for the dogs.
They're not teaching reading, writing, or arithmetic to these students. What they are teaching at the Canine Academy is a little more practical. Servility, stalking, and seizing.
Hey, please stop, stop.
Twice a year, dogs and police officers from across the United States and Canada travel to the academy just south of Belfast. The dogs are generally about a year old when they start training. Lieutenant Les Beaubert says he likes to get dogs without any prior experience, so he won't have to train out bad habits.
We don't actually train the dog, per se, you know. We train the handler to train his own dog. We show them more than telling them.
This session, 5 officers and dogs are participating in the 12-week class. 3 of the pairs have already had some experience working as a team, but the others are just beginning.
We came out here with the best dog that we could find, which got him out here, and he decided that he wouldn't be able to really cut the mustard, you know, not really suited for law enforcement. So yesterday, then, we got a call from a doctor in Havre, Montana, and that was wanted to get rid of a dog, so we took a trip over there and picked him up. And this one here is just 100% better, so things are really looking up now for me.
The successful Canine Academy recruit needs to be agile and disciplined, and a good sense of smell doesn't hurt. The dogs at the school also get to specialize, pick a major, if you will. The choices are narcotics or bomb detection. Kathleen Ryan in Belton, Montana for NBC News.
I'm going to stay clear of that place, that's for sure.
Mine would never make it into that
No
academy.
way. No way.
Well, that's our late report for this Saturday evening. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to join us again tomorrow at 5:30 and 10. Now stay tuned for the best of Saturday Night Live.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.